and welcome to Author Talk with me, LG Thomson. The concept behind Author Talk is that I'm going to answer the questions that authors get asked most often by readers. And the question I'm dealing with this week is, how do you deal with rejection? Don't forget to like the video and subscribe to the channel. Thank you. So, rejection. Oh God, big meaty one, horrible, nobody likes it, but it's part of the game and we've all kind of got to get on with it. I suppose one of the things you have to do is develop a thick skin. When I first started writing, it was back in the olden days, pre-internet times, and you used to have to write, you could write directly to publishers at the time, and they did have sort of pro forma rejection letters, but I quite often got handwritten notes. I got a lot of encouragement. It was really good. I got encouragement from agents and things like that. I thought it'd be quite interesting to go through some of those old letters. This is from Darley Anderson, which was still is a huge agency. I sent them a book called Gravy. I think the two books that you're going to hear the titles of here, one's called Gravy and the other one's called The Ballad of Johnny Gore, and these were the first two books that I wrote. So this one's about Gravy. Dear Lorraine, well, it's certainly something completely different from our normal submissions, and I think it's hugely talented too. Hugely talented with a capital H and a capital T. Could you please send us the complete MS? And would you let me know who else in publishing has seen it and what they said? So there we go. That was quite encouraging. So I duly sent it off to them. That letter was received on the 14th of October. And on the 27th of October, I received a follow-up. Dear Lorraine, I hope the just missed it tag won't dog you for too much longer, but I'm afraid it applies here. We read all of Gravy with admiration, but a growing sense of repetition and slightly too heavy a hand on the sleeves. I do think you have enormous talent, and please, capital letters, please, send me what you compose next. I'm sure you will continue to submit Gravy, and it may be that a more esoteric and less mainstream agent than ourselves has a go. There's absolutely no doubt at all about your gifts as a writer. So, as rejections go, not bad. Rejection is brutal. Note the 14th October, 27th October, less than 2 weeks. Imagine that now. I mean, the way it works now, you submit a book. Some of them say if you haven't heard from us within 2 years, assume it's a no. That actually happened to me, and it took them longer than 2 years. I mean, by that time I'd already given up the ghost, but there we go. Here's one here. Dear Lorraine, the Ballad of Johnny Gore reads well and holds the attention, but I'm afraid it's not for us. Reads well and holds the attention. What can you do? Dear Lorraine, thank you for sending us Gravy Part 1. Though we think its stark, uncompromising style attractive and interesting, it also worried us that it was slightly reductive and assumed too much. Certainly you portray a very topical and powerful picture of urban life in the raw. We decided against after much stalling, just a shade lacking in subtlety. Never my strong point. Dear Lorraine, thank you for your letter enclosing Gravy. I like the energy of the writing and the descriptions, but I am less convinced by the dialogue. I would like to see your next work, as I think there is potential here. That was from Picador, and the other one was from Canongate. There's quite big name publishers. It kind of frustrates me now, looking at these and kind of thinking, I was kind of pushing at the door and it was kind of budging, but I just couldn't get in there. Oh, this is a great one. Please send the whole thing. I did send them the whole thing, and there's quite a lengthy handwritten note on it, which is a thanks but no thanks, and at the end she's written, but really, really, capital letters, keep at it. I do think you're very good at the type of tone in the first chapter. Sorry this is burbled. Just as well she wasn't the one writing the books. This one here is my very favourite rejection slip of all time. It's not even a slip, she's written it on my submission letter. I went on holiday to New York, and being naive in the ways of the world, I thought it'd be a good idea, like, to just take a bunch of manuscripts with me and like take them round to publishers and agents while I was there. And I told them the hotel that I was staying in, because I was full of visions of these. Having read Last Exit to Brooklyn, I thought like American publishers would be quite open to my kind of writing, which may be described as transgressive. So like I told them, I took down my manuscripts and I had the cover letter and I included my hotel address, convinced that they would be beating a path to my door before I left to come back to Scotland. That didn't happen. Anyway, what I got was this note, and I think it's my favourite rejection ever. Positively not for me. Whoever told you that the American publishers would be receptive to this material? So I'm guessing I was lucky that I wasn't run out of town. Anyway, so that was like ye olden days. It's a completely different story now. Most publishers, certainly like the big ones, like don't accept unsolicited manuscripts. The advice is to get an agent. I don't know, I think getting an agent's probably even harder than getting it's like a whole catch-22 thing. I think the fact that we've got the internet and people like, it's easier for people to write and just send stuff. The slush piles are higher and higher and higher. You know, like when I was writing like these ones where I got all these nice handwritten rejections that were full of encouragement. I was banging out on a typewriter. Everything had to be posted in. There was effort required. Also money for the postage and all that kind of thing. And I think like now it's just so easy for people to send stuff off. And everybody fancies themselves as a writer. So like the publishers are well, they're inundated. The slush piles are yay high. So rejection is common. So how to deal with rejection? I think the best thing, my advice is you just keep sending a lot of stuff out. You never only have one thing out. It took me I had a hard road learning this. You send out a lot of stuff at the same time, and every time you get a rejection back, you send out something again. With books, it can take quite a while. I've got a book that I wrote pre-lockdown. It's a book that several people that know about the subject have read, and I've sort of championed the book. It's been shortlisted for a prize. I've had the full manuscript requested several times, still haven't found a home for it. So I've made it my mission that this is one of the things I'm going to do over the next year, is keep plugging away with that book. It's slightly different for me, it's historical fiction, but it's still got those elements that are common in Mother Book. Well, there's a good story, well told. There's really good characters. There's some subversive things like going on. Anyway, I believe in the book, so I have to kind of keep. I left it alone for a while, but I've gone back to it, and I really sort of need to find a home for it. So like, I don't really like this thing nowadays where like I mentioned it earlier, this if you haven't heard from us, assume it's a no. I mean, I know like the slush piles are enormous and it's a pain in the neck, but like just a quick pro forma email, thanks but no thanks, that would do. It's especially frustrating. I mean, I've had the experience of being ghosted. I was courted by an agent for a year. They knew about the project, they'd read some of the project, like I kept them up to date with it. We had this dialogue, like I say, over the period of a year, and at the end of it, when I sent them the full thing, they didn't reply. They just ghosted me. I'm like, what? Just like I said, like a thanks but no thanks would suffice, and then like that, like sort of puts it to bed. So there's some behaviour out there like that's not great, but C'est la vie. So that's my advice. You just kind of got to keep on going. Send it out to loads of places. You get rejection, send it out to like something else. You know, always have a few on the go at the time. And maybe one day we get lucky. Maybe one day I'll get lucky with that book. It's a really good book. It's really good, honestly. If anybody's interested in historical fiction. Anyway, there it is. I'm going to keep on plugging on with it. Rejection is brutal. I hate getting rejection letters. It's horrible. Like every single like submission I put in, you know, you kind of like, you put your heart and soul into it. And every single agent, every single publisher, they've all got their own specific things that they want you to send. So you can't just do like a whole batch. You've got to, like, some of them want like a 1-page, some of them want a 1-page synopsis, some of them want a 2-page synopsis, some of them want the first 10 chapters, some of them want the first 5,000 words, some of them want it like spaced like this, some of them want it spaced like that. I mean, it's fair dues, you know, like it's up to them to sort of call out, but it just means that you can't just have this sort of package. You're always kind of like redoing it. Yeah. Oh, is me, eh? World's smallest violin. I don't know. It's just, it's part of the deal. It's horrible. Rejection is horrible. It's part of the deal. You just kind of got to get on with it.